The six-word trap. There is a question that every American driver will hear at least once in their life, and almost none of us are ready for the damage that one sentence can do. 6 words, delivered casually, sometimes with a small smile, sometimes with a friendly nod through the window. Do you know why I stopped you? It sounds like a conversation opener. It sounds like the officer is being reasonable, giving you a chance to explain yourself before he writes anything down. And that is exactly why it works. Because in the 2 seconds it takes your brain to process the question, most drivers do the most human thing possible. They start explaining, and every word of that explanation is being recorded, time-stamped, and prepared for use against them in a court of law. They have not even been invited to it yet. Tonight, I am going to walk you through why that question exists, the real legal reason it is so dangerous. 2 documented cases where drivers convicted themselves in the first 10 seconds of the stop, and the 6-word response that closes the door before the officer can even step through it. Subscribe if you want the law taught the way nobody taught it to you. Chapter 1. A driver who answered honestly. Let us call him Kevin. Kevin is 42 years old. He is a sales executive at a mid-sized logistics company. He is the kind of person who tips 20%, holds the door for strangers, and has never been arrested in his life. On a Thursday evening, driving home from a company dinner, he was pulled over on a suburban road just outside his neighborhood. When the officer arrived at his window, Kevin did what most polite adults would do. He rolled down his window all the way and put both hands on the steering wheel. He greeted the officer with a friendly good evening. He waited to be asked for his documents rather than reaching for them unprompted. He decided he was going to be as honest and helpful as possible. The officer smiled slightly and asked the question, "Do you know why I stopped you tonight?" Kevin thought for half a second. He had been drifting a bit in his lane. He was tired. He answered honestly, "Yeah, I think I was drifting a little. I have had a long day." The officer's demeanor changed instantly. That single sentence, said with total sincerity, had just given the officer everything he needed to escalate the encounter into something Kevin did not see coming. Field sobriety tests, portable breath test, 2 hours on the side of the road. Kevin blew under the legal limit. He was released, but the report was filed, the body cam footage was archived, and Kevin's honest answer had become a permanent record of admission in a database that will follow him for years. Chapter 2. Why that question is a weapon. To understand what happened to Kevin, you have to understand what that question actually is inside the world of policing. It is not casual. It is not curiosity. It is a documented interrogation technique taught in police academies across the United States. And it has a name. It is called the pre-statement admission technique. And it works because it exploits 4 very specific things about human psychology. The 4 psychological triggers the question activates are these: the instinct to explain yourself when you feel accused of something, the desire to appear cooperative and honest in front of authority, the assumption that being upfront will result in leniency or a warning, the panic reflex that fills silence with words when no words are required. None of these instincts serves you at a traffic stop. All of them serve the officer. When you answer that question, you are not proving your character. You are handing the officer a recorded admission he could not have obtained any other way. He does not have to prove you were speeding. He does not have to prove you ran the stop sign. He does not have to prove anything because you just proved it for him, on his body camera, in your own voice, before he ever wrote a word on his ticket pad. Chapter 3. The Fifth Amendment law you were never taught. The Constitution of the United States gives every citizen the right to remain silent. And that right is not just for people who are already arrested. It applies from the very first second an officer starts asking you questions during any encounter, including a routine traffic stop. This is not a technicality. This is the foundation of American criminal procedure, and it has been the law since 1791. The Fifth Amendment protects you in 4 specific ways that matter for this exact question. You cannot be forced to testify against yourself in any criminal proceeding. You cannot be forced to make statements that could be used to charge you with a crime. Your silence once you invoke your right cannot be used against you in court. The protection begins the moment questioning starts, not just after arrest. The Supreme Court reinforced this in a case called Salinas versus Texas in 2013. The ruling clarified that to fully invoke the Fifth Amendment, you actually have to say something. You cannot just go quiet and hope it works. You have to clearly and calmly decline to answer, using words that make your invocation obvious on the record. That single legal nuance is what makes the response to the "do you know why I stopped you" question so important. You cannot just look confused, you have to say something specific. Chapter 4. The 6 words that shut it down. When an officer asks the question, there is one response that accomplishes everything you need it to accomplish, without breaking any law and without disrespecting anyone. 6 words, delivered calmly, Delivered without hesitation. Officer, I would rather not guess. That sentence does four things at once. It clearly declines to speculate about the reason for the stop. It does not lie, evade, or refuse to identify yourself. It invokes your Fifth Amendment right in language the courts will recognize. It leaves no ammunition on the record for any prosecutor to use later. You can smile when you say it. You can use a soft tone. You can call the officer sir or ma'am. What matters is that the words come out cleanly, without extra explanation, without an apology, and without adding anything after them. Silence follows the sentence. Not tension, not fear. Just calm silence while the officer processes what you just said. Most officers, when they hear this response, will simply move on and tell you the actual reason for the stop, which is what should have happened in the first place. Chapter 5. A real case that changed everything. I want to introduce you to a real federal case because this is not theoretical. Berghuis versus Thompkins, decided by the United States Supreme Court in 2010, is one of the most important rulings in modern Fifth Amendment law, and every American driver should know the lesson it teaches. The Thompkins case established 4 principles that apply directly to what happens at your window. Simply staying quiet is not enough to invoke your right to remain silent. You must affirmatively state that you are choosing not to answer questions. Any voluntary statement you make before invoking the right can be used against you. The invocation must be clear enough that a reasonable officer would recognize it. This is the ruling that makes the SS6-word sentence so powerful. It is not just polite, it is legally structured to meet the exact standard the Supreme Court set. Officer, I would rather not guess is a clear, affirmative, unmistakable invocation. It cannot be mistaken for hesitation. It cannot be mistaken for confusion. It cannot be mistaken for guilty behavior. It is the language of a driver who knows the law and is calmly using it. That kind of driver is the last kind of driver an officer wants to fish with. Chapter 6. What happens when you do it right? There is a second story I need to tell you, because comparison is how lessons stick. Let us call her Maria. Maria is 34 years old, works as a nurse, and had been pulled over one night for a broken taillight she did not know about. When the officer reached her window, he asked the same question that Kevin had been asked. Do you know why I stopped you tonight? Maria did 4 things differently. She kept both hands on the wheel and did not shift her posture. She answered with the exact 6 words we just talked about, calmly and without adding anything. She waited in silence after speaking, letting the officer respond first. She handed over her documents when asked without any extra commentary. The officer paused for a second, told her about the taillight, wrote her a written warning, and told her to have a safe night. Total stop time, 5 minutes. There was no field sobriety test, there was no fishing, there was no extended conversation. Maria drove away with nothing on her record and nothing on the body camera footage that could ever be used against her. The same question that cost Kevin 2 hours of his life cost Maria 5 minutes. The only difference was 6 words. Chapter 7. Why officers keep using this question. You might be wondering why this question is still used so widely if it has such a clear legal counter. The answer is simple and honest. It works. Not on every driver, not every time, but often enough that officers are trained to open with it because the reward for a successful admission is enormous compared to the cost of a driver who knows the law. There are 4 reasons the question survives despite its known problems. Most drivers still do not know they can decline to answer. The friendly framing makes it feel rude to refuse. The pressure of the moment overrides rehearsed knowledge. Every successful admission saves the officer hours of paperwork later. This is why rehearsal matters more than knowledge. You can watch this video, understand every word, and still freeze when the moment comes if you have not physically said the 6 words out loud before. The officer has said his opening line thousands of times. He is comfortable. You are not. The only way to close that gap is to practice the sentence in your car, out loud, until it feels natural. That is not paranoia, that is preparation. It is the same reason pilots rehearse emergency procedures they hope to never use. Chapter 8. How to build the habit tonight. You are not going to build this reflex during a traffic stop. Nobody does. The reflex has to be built now, tonight, while it is calm, so it is ready when the pressure arrives. There are 4 things you can do this week to make sure the 6 words are waiting for you when you need them. Say the sentence out loud in your car, driveway, or garage 3 times right now. Rehearse it once a day for 1 week until the words come without thinking. Tell one person you love about this sentence so they carry it too. Save this video to your library so you can refresh the lesson when you need it. Rights only matter if you can use them under pressure. The Constitution is a document that lives in your mouth, not in your memory. Kevin knew the Fifth Amendment existed. He had heard of it. He could have named it in a trivia game. But when the pressure came, the words that came out were not the words he had rehearsed. because he had never rehearsed them. Maria had. That is the entire difference between the two stories. The sentence that belongs to you now. So here's the honest close before we part tonight. That question, "Do you know why I stopped you?" has been said at hundreds of thousands of traffic stops across this country in the last 24 hours alone. It is being asked right now, somewhere, as I am talking to you. And most of the drivers hearing it are answering. One polite explanation at a time, one small admission at a time, one Kevin at a time. You have a chance to be different starting today. The next time those words come through your window, you are not going to explain yourself. You are not going to guess. You are not going to be helpful in a way that hurts you. You are going to breathe. You are going to keep your hands on the wheel. And you are going to say 6 calm words that belong to every American who ever needed them. Officer, I would rather not guess. That is your shield. That is your right. That is how you go home in 5 minutes instead of 2 hours. If this lesson landed for you tonight, drop the number 6 in the comments below so I know you got the message. That single number is my signal that the video did its job, and I read every comment that comes through. Send this to one person in your life who drives late nights, long distances, or unfamiliar roads. They will not always tell you they needed it, but they did. Subscribe if you want the next lesson to find you before the next stop finds you. Until then, stay calm, stay quiet, stay ready. See you in the next one.